I'm excited about today's topic. We're going to switch it up a little bit. As you see, the title is 17 seconds away from 68 seconds to fulfillment. So I'm curious what in the heck you guys are probably wondering, like, what is she going to talk about? Well, what we're going to talk about has to do with how you get to control your thoughts and therefore control actually, what result you're having in your life. So this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Let me just get my notes up here. Okay, so you're in this group because you're interested in living a high performer lifestyle, right? You know that you weren't born to be average. You know that you've got more inside of you. And we talked like a week or so ago about being the unicorn, right? The unicorn who's out there pretending to be a horse who hasn't grown her horns yet, right? And so who I'm speaking to is those of you who are unicorns, right? The ugly duckling, so to speak, meaning you thought all this time that you were a duckling, but you're really a swan. You'll know that this is you if you feel like you always have had more in you to give. You want to contribute more, you want to do more, and you're typically the most driven person in your family, your environment. And if that is the case, like me, you have to really make sure that you surround yourself with other driven people, because and this is not judgment, but when we are in circles and spend most of our time with people who do not have the same drive, they will hold you back. They will hold you back because you'll have these, they'll have these stories and beliefs about why you're doing too much, why you want too much, why can't you just be satisfied, that type of thing. And the truth is, it's because you were born with more in you. And so it's really important who you surround yourself with and the information that you allow on a daily basis to permeate your mind, okay? And so I'm going to share something with you today that's going to teach you how to direct your thoughts, right? So you want to be on a daily basis really practicing this habit, creating a habit of actually directing your thoughts. That way your mind doesn't rule you, you actually rule it. Okay? So as wanting to live a high performer lifestyle, or what does it even mean to have a high performer lifestyle, to be a high performer? It means that you pursue your big goals. You pursue them. You don't just talk about them, right? You pursue your goals and you achieve them no matter how many times you fail. No matter how many times you fail. In fact, failure does not scare you. Think about the most successful people that you know, and you can go and look them up and type in their name and maybe put in the word how many, failure, or how many times they failed, or find books where they're talking about it or interviews. And always the most successful people have also failed the most times, right? If you haven't had failures in your life, quote unquote failures, if you haven't tried something that didn't work out, if you haven't, been embarrassed, if you haven't lost something, if you haven't put your ass on the line and actually, lost or fell behind in something, then you haven't been trying anything. You're not a high performer, right? Like, that's just talking about it, thinking about it, but allowing the fear of failing to hold you back. When you can decide that, and it's funny, my business coach Shanda was committed to failing 17 times this year, and then someone I was just listening to yesterday on the radio, I can't remember who it was now, but was talking about, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, talking about the fact that, like, failing is just something that he's, that comes with the territory, right? He was in bodybuilding and all of that, and he was being interviewed asking, like, was he afraid to run for governor and all these things? And his whole mentality around failure is what got him to this country, whether you like him or not, is what got him to this country and making all this big success in bodybuilding, in movies, in politics, in whatever he's done in his life, right? That takes a certain mentality of not being afraid to fail or look stupid along the way, right? So that's a little aside, but that's one of the biggest things that high performers have in common, is that we're not afraid to fail. We just keep going. Okay. It also means that you have healthy relationships in your life. It's not just about goals, 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 career, career, money, money. Like, that's a piece of it, hitting your goals, whether they're fitness goals, whether they're, spiritual goals, whether they are money goals, whatever it is, right? So that's one aspect of it, but it doesn't mean like your life has to crumble, your personal life, right? So really having it fine-tuned, right? Being a fine-tuned machine is having those big goals, pursuing them, hitting them, and also having healthy relationships that bring you joy, right? It also means that you're making a difference in the lives of others. It's not just all about you. It's not just all about you. And as a high performer, you have to check in on a daily basis because we are so goal driven. We have to check in and be honest with ourselves and do an assessment, right? Am I neglecting my relationships? Is this all about me? How can I also give more, right? So that's a daily check-in. And so you make a difference in the lives of others, you pursue your goals and all of those things without compromising your own passions and joy. Without compromising your own path. So in my family, it's really important to me that each of us individually are free to pursue our passions, to pursue what brings us joy. My husband is huge waterman, water person, surfer, sailor. I mean, he works on the water, everything about him has to do with the water, right? It's important to me that nobody in our family blocks that, right, or guilts him for that. Same thing with my physical pursuits. Same thing with my daughter's art and our son Dylan's sports and even the fact that he likes video games. Right? It's like each person gets to pursue their passions and their joy, right? That's what it means to live a high performer lifestyle. It means you are doing what makes you happy. You're pursuing it. You're making a difference for others. You have healthy relationships and you go after your goals and you hit them. Okay? Now, who wants that kind of lifestyle here, right? In this group? Are you here in this group because that's the lifestyle that you're living or that's the lifestyle that you want? If so, let me know by throwing up some likes, some hearts. I want to know that this is resonating with you. So in order to have that kind of life, you really have to be willing to take full responsibility for it all. That is truly my stand in life. And it's been my stand that has been the thread throughout all of my businesses and everything that I've done in entrepreneurship, training athletes, training regular people in the gym, coaching entrepreneurs, coaching coaches and leaders. It all comes down to we individually must take full responsibility for it all, for everything, right? No blaming, no excuses, no comparing yourself to others, no gossiping, pointing the finger, right? All of those things will take you down and hold you back. That kind of living, like the blaming, the excuse making, the comparing, the gossiping about other people, the victim mentality, that's average, right? That's how the average person operates, where they are controlled by their circumstances and things that are going on around them, right? This person did that to me. This happened to me and therefore this, right? That is average thinking. That's average living. That is not high performer living. That is not high performer thinking. That is not exceptional thinking, right? The exceptional person, the high performer, takes responsibility for it all and acknowledges that we source it all. Write that down. I source it all. When you can come from that mentality, from that perspective, that's you taking full responsibility, and that's you gaining all the power back. That's you becoming a co-creator with God in the universe. When you can look at it as, why did I source this? What is in this situation for me to learn? And then how can I therefore shift it? And we're going to talk about how you can do that with this 17-second tool that I'm going to teach you. When we can ask ourselves, how did I source it all? What's my responsibility here? And then how can I direct it in a way that will create the result or the feeling that I want to experience, okay? So all this week, we're talking about how you get to be personally responsible for your thoughts. As a high performer, like so much almost everything comes down to this. So last week we were talking a lot about David Goggins, right? So it was more like a hard approach. And even David Goggins, like, even though he's this amazing athlete, he really coaches around mindset. Like, he even talks about like the thing that got him through all of these big, like crazy, long endurance, like intense, insane races and the Navy SEALs and all of that stuff is all here. Had nothing to do with his physical. He was able to defy the physical odds, including being born with a hole in his heart, which he didn't even find out until he was like in his 30s or something, right? Like, the doctors were like, holy crap, you've been doing all this. That was proof to him that because of his mindset, because of the fact that he was able to coach himself in every single minute, every single second, to like exceed in whatever he was doing, or to keep going, or whatever, he proved to himself that it's not about the physical, it's about the mental. So last week we took that approach. It was a little bit harder, and this week I'm going to take a softer approach, which has to do with everything about law of attraction and how you are manifesting the things that are happening in your life. So I'm going to refer to my book again, Ask and It Is Given. And those of you who know, if you know this process, tell me in the comments. And if you don't, if it's new to you, let me know that this is new to you. This is such a powerful exercise to learn. I'm trying to remember, like, it must be at least a decade or longer that I learned this. And now it's just programmed. This is what happens when you start to practice a certain thing. Right? So if you're going right now in your life through a big transformation, and what you're moving into is very different than anything you've ever done, like even like in terms of like being open to this kind of languaging, then I suggest you really, find a few books that you can really sit with and read and take notes on and absorb and journal on, and spend quiet time walking and playing it maybe in your headphones, because truly it's like food for the brain. Food for the brain. And you've got to reshape and recalibrate the way you have been thinking in the past in order to really understand and apply the new stuff that you're learning. Okay, so when I started reading this kind of stuff, it was like a daily practice. And now it's automatic. Now it's automatic. When I want to shift something, when I want to create something, when I notice that something is manifesting around me unintentionally, it doesn't mean that I'm not sourcing it, but it means I wasn't focused or recognizing the fact that I was focused on a way that's manifesting something that I don't want. I'm able to that quickly shift into my 17-second, therefore 68 seconds and longer shift in the way that I think. Okay, so here is this. It comes from the Ask and It Is Given in chapter 21. So we are responsible for our thoughts, okay? We just talked about that. And when we acknowledge that we're responsible for our thoughts, that also means we are then responsible for what we believe. Because what you think on a repetitive basis is what you end up believing. Therefore, you end up having behaviors that support your beliefs. This is why it all goes back to your thoughts. I call this the tricky triad in my Get Set method, which is all around mastering your mindset. Your thoughts create your beliefs. Therefore, what you believe indicates how you're going to behave, right? It directs your behaviors. So the language that you use, the way that you communicate, the actions that you take, okay? So that's why it is super imperative that you start by directing your thoughts. Okay, so with only a few seconds of focusing your attention on a subject, you activate the vibration of that subject within you. And immediately the law of attraction begins to respond to that activation, okay? With only a few seconds of focusing your attention. Now, the longer you keep your attention focused on something, the easier it becomes for you to continue to focus upon it. So the longer you keep your attention focused on something, the easier it becomes to continue to focus on it, because you are attracting other thoughts or vibrations that are the essence of what you started focusing on in the beginning, right? So like if you start focusing on the fact that you don't have money, let's just start with that, like I'm broke. You will start to attract through law of attraction, because it's how it works, other thoughts and energies and feelings that are in line with this feeling and thought of I am broke, right? So you'll start to see like you start to focus on that, and then it becomes, wow, this bill is coming in and I don't have this much money coming in. And then all of your thoughts have to do with lack, right? You start to attract more of that. I don't have this, there's not enough of this, right? And so then fear, feelings of inadequacy, feelings of panic, right? You're attracting more of that. You guys get that? Do you get that? Within 17 seconds, this is where the 17-second rule starts. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is so that you can take this tool and practice it today. Within 17 seconds of focusing on something, a matching vibration becomes activated. So you can catch yourself. This is what I talk about often when I'm training people on how to direct their thoughts. If you can catch yourself in the first 5 to 10 seconds that you're focusing on something that is not what you want, right? If you're focusing on something that is not actually what you want, so you're focusing on the fact that you're out of shape or you don't have the relationship that you want, right? You're focusing on the absence or lack of. If you can shift it quickly, then you don't create more feelings and thoughts and vibrations with that. You can shift it in that moment and start going down another path and what I call a rampage of thoughts and beliefs and feelings that you actually do want to attract. So within 17 seconds of focusing on something, a matching vibration becomes activated. As that focus becomes stronger, the vibration becomes clearer, the law of attraction brings you more things to match it. If you manage to stay purely focused upon any thought for as little as 68 seconds, so here we start at 17 seconds. When you get to 17 seconds, it starts to produce more thoughts, feelings, and emotions that line up. Then when you get to 68 seconds, so it's just a minute, think about how much time you spend focused on the same thing over and over again, right? So if you stay purely focused upon any thought for as little as 68 seconds, the vibration is powerful enough that the manifestation begins. The manifestation begins, meaning whatever you've been focused upon for 68 seconds starts to manifest in your life. And then that's powerful. Just think about that, because like how often do you spend, like a minute goes by like that. That's why it's important that you are aware of what you're actually focusing on. So when you repeatedly turn to a thought, maintaining it for at least 68 seconds in a short period of time, hours in some cases, or a few days in others, that thought becomes a dominant thought. So if you keep returning to that thought for 68 seconds or longer, it becomes a dominant thought. This is how things become beliefs and become ingrained in you, right? It's why like we adopt belief systems when we're younger that we didn't believe, we didn't even know about believing it. It was just infused in us. We heard it over and over again and it became a dominant thought, right? Once you achieve a dominant thought, you will experience matching manifestations until you change it. You guys get that? I mean, this is such powerful stuff. I hope it's landing with you. Let me know if it is, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay. Is this piece really, are you getting this? Because this is so critical, and this has been a game changer in my life. People ask me how all the time, like, how do you do this thing that you call plugging in? I say it all the time. I was just in a stretch with a group of entrepreneurs, and I was the top, the top finisher in something that we were doing every week consistently. And I was being asked in a meeting, like, how do you do that? And I said, because I just plug in. I plug in. And the plugging in for me, I said it's an energy, right? But it starts with what are the dominant thoughts that I'm going to create, right? And it always is about the result or the manifestation that I want. I don't focus on how it's going to happen or when it's like, I don't focus on controlling it. I focus on the vision. I've talked about that a lot in here. So I start by plugging into the 68-second rule. 17 seconds and then past 68 seconds, because I know that's where the dominant thoughts start. So you will continue to experience those manifestations until you change it, until you plug into the 17 seconds, 68 seconds, etc. So remember, this is, you get to practice this today. Remember that the thoughts you think equal your point of attraction. What you're thinking about, you're going to attract. We talked about this yesterday, collecting evidence. Collecting evidence. So if you think everybody's against you, right, you will think about that for 68 seconds or more. You're going to start collecting evidence and attracting manifestations in your life of that actually being the case, right? Same thing with like, it's difficult to make money. If that is your dominant thought, it becomes your belief and you start to manifest the fact that it actually is for you. The universe can only give you, this is how powerful you are. This is how powerful you are. The universe can only give you what you put out. Like the universe is responding to you, not the other way around. I mean, that is so powerful. That is so powerful. Like this stuff lights me up because it reminds us to like slow down, get clear, get intentional, and take personal responsibility for what is manifesting around us. Even when that's a harsh reality, when you look around and you're like, shit, I sourced this, don't judge it. You don't have to judge it. It's just feedback for you. And it's it's part of your journey. But when you're conscious about it, then you can make the shifts and you don't have to stay in situations that do not feel great and are not good for you. You don't have to stay in them longer than is necessary because you now have the power to shift. So remember, the thoughts you think equal your point of attraction. You get what you think about whether you want it or not. This is how depression goes and spirals, because you get what you think about whether you want it or not. You might not want to be depressed, but if you have an experience for 68 seconds of focusing on something that brings you down, and then you continue to return to that, you cannot help but continue to experience it deeper and deeper. Then you're like down that rabbit hole of being depressed. Does that make sense? So your thoughts equal vibration, and that vibration is then answered by the law of attraction. My dog is barking in the background. As your vibration expands and becomes more powerful, it becomes powerful enough for manifestation to occur. In other words, what you think and therefore feel, your thoughts come before your feelings, not the other way around. That's why you do have control over your feelings. Your thoughts come first. So what you think and therefore feel and what manifests in your experience is always a match. It's always a match. What you think, feel, and manifest, it's always a match. So you've got to interrupt the thoughts so that you can direct the feelings and therefore direct the manifestation, okay? So that's what I want to share about. That's pretty heavy, right? So I want you to tell me in the comments what out of this is really landed for you. And I'm going to drop a link in here. This is something that I love to do with people. It's something that I do in Vivid Vision sessions. It's something that I do in VIP days. And there's testimonials all over inside this group, on my website, on my Facebook business page, testimonials about how having these sessions with me has really made a difference for people in their lives and their business. And so if you want to have an experience like this, then I'm going to drop my link in here because I have a few openings this week. So there it is in the comments section. And I want to thank you for being here with me. I'm going to get the dog. We're going to walk to the bus stop. And I will see you at 7 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. And I look forward to coming back and reading your comments later today. Go start your rampage of 17 seconds and 68 seconds. That's how close you are to fulfillment. In any area of life that you want to be fulfilled in, you get to set the intention and direct the thoughts. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.